England in the Middle Ages. The sun is shining, the birds are singing, the children are playing in the village square. What a wonderful time to be alive! Hey, you're dying of dysentery. And also we're being raided by Vikings. What an awful time to be alive.
Oh, the
It's
doctor.
the year 900. Europe is a Viking's wet dream. Raids galore. Hey, you want to go raid Paris? Okay. That particular raid didn't go too well.
I love that they're giving, so we've got some mail, so that's historical, definitely more historically accurate than the entirety of the production behind Vikings, the TV series. And I even wish to add the majority of actual movies and productions that are set in the Viking Age. But anyways, we've got some nice mail on both sides. These guys are all using Dane axes. I would probably give them spears, to be honest, and just a few using Dane axes and maybe a few swords if you're rich. But it's fine, it's a little cartoon. Also, I love the helmet. Well, yeah, we got some conical helmets and we got these with a little mask. It's good so far.
Well, but the king of the Franks said, you guys are pretty tough and scary. How about we give you land in northern France, and in return, you protect us from other Vikings? And it was agreed. The Vikings set up the Duchy of Normandy, and then they went full-on French, converting to Christianity, learning the language, and making babies with the locals. England also had its fair share of Viking problems. In the 800s, Danish Vikings had conquered most of the country, but the Anglo-Saxons eventually managed to kick them out, although they left behind a bunch of Viking settlers. Now this guy's king. He sucks. Replace him with his brother. And he was like, hey baby, how you doing? And had a son, and then turned around and was like, hey baby, how you doing? And had another son. And then he died and no one was sure which son to make king. This one, because he's older. Not if I have anything to do with it. That works for us too. Then
Oh my gosh, it's so funny because all of this is accurate. But when you say it this way, it makes it sound idiotic, which is funny. Like, not idiotic in the sense that they're doing anything wrong, but you know where I'm coming from. I don't need to explain this. Oh my gosh, this is so funny. Not if I have anything to do with it, throws a knife. Oh gosh.
And he grew up and married the Duke of Normandy's daughter and had a bunch of kids. Remember this one?
Yeah.
He's important. Then
Yeah.
his advisors came to him and said, hey man, all those Viking settlers that are living here, they might band together. And
Yeah, he had them all. He had them all killed. That was a mess. In fact, one of the reasons, but one of the catalysts, if you will, when it comes to the invasion of the other Norse, but this time in higher numbers.
kill you. Well then, why don't we kill them first? And so it was. This pissed off the Danish king, who launched an invasion, and the Vikings conquered England once again. Then the Anglo-Saxons unconquered it, then the Vikings reconquered it. The king's family had to go into exile, including Edward. Remember him?
And right now, the way he's using England, of course, England as a unified country really depends which specific century we want to focus on, because oftentimes you've got lots of different kingdoms, like Kingdom of Mercia, Northumbria being, for example, one of the most impacted by Viking invasions. You have these different ones, but then you do have situations where someone does manage to militarily occupy or liberate, if you are from the side of the people that are doing the occupation, and then they do become kings, but then there is the swapping. Also, absolutely correct. Just wanted to add that little depth, as that's what we do. This is oversimplified, we overcomplicate. So I would consider England at the moment as a term, since spans a bit of a long timeline. England, let's use it geographically for a moment. Let's understand it geographically.
He went to Normandy where he lived for 30 years. He and his brother Alfred tried to return to England to retake the throne from the Vikings, but they were betrayed by the Earl of Wessex, who said, hey friend, I'll take you to London where all the nobles are waiting to make you king.
eyes.
Oh no, look out, red hot poker in the eyes. I can't see. And thus you can't be king.
What a nice
Edward
guy.
then escaped back to Normandy. After a few more Viking kings came and went, one finally died without an heir, and Edward was called back to England where he became king. And that's where our story begins.
Very simplified. Well,
Here's the thing about becoming a king in the Middle Ages. Often your entire country won't support you at first. You can be vulnerable to rebellions, and it's up to you to take control. Fortunately for Edward, there was already a super powerful guy who had a lot of control over England, and if Edward could get his support, then England would be his. Who is this guy? Oh, piss, it's the guy who gave my brother the red hot poker in the eyes. After an awkward moment where Edward exiled Godwin from the country, he eventually had to give in and let him keep his earldom, possibly after Godwin gave him a bunch of gold and said he was very, very sorry. King Edward also married Godwin's daughter. Then Godwin died, and his massive fortune was passed down to his sons, who all became earls. In particular, this one became the new Earl of Wessex.
I love how he's pissed. He's pissed. But then again, marriage in the medieval period was, particularly when it comes to the upper class and aristocracy and people in power, it was a transaction. It was a political transaction. It most of the times had nothing to do with love. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a situation where perhaps two people were paired due to political advantages, and then they did fall in love, as as a wedded couple. It's possible that that happened. I wouldn't exclude it. But a lot of the times that was not the case at all. Which is why, personally, if there is one meme that I absolutely love, is the one that says, hey, my girlfriend said I should treat her like a princess, so I married her to a stranger to strengthen my military alliance with Poland. It is more likely that marriage out of love was mostly a matter of the low and middle class at this point.
Harold Godwinson was now King Edward's brother-in-law. He was a close advisor to the king, a brave warrior who had proven himself in battle against the
look at the
Welsh,
shield.
and in many ways he was almost like a co-king. Uh-oh, Edward got old and he's on his deathbed. Possibly for religious reasons, or maybe because he wasn't happy about having to marry her, he didn't boink his wife, and as a result has no kids, meaning there's no obvious heir to the throne, meaning I'm gonna...
What religious reasons? Now, of course, this is oversimplified, so maybe I'm misremembering something and they simplify, so that's why they're not going into the details. But in general, even from like the strictest of the Catholic perspectives, believe it or not, a marriage is not valid unless you consume it. So, if anything, religious authorities, once you have a husband and wife, would push for you to boink, like they're saying here,